Hi everyone, this is Emma and Shannon from Arise, and today we're going to be talking about navigating life skills. Now, Shannon's going to speak to us about this. As a lot of you know, Shannon's chatted with us before on the podcasts, and she's been in and out with lots of different things. Um, Most of you might not know that Shannon, in her kind of opening and beginning of creating courses for home educators, it was driven by initially like a passion for travel and for the nations, and she founded Captivating Compass, which is another place you can go and check out to see all the great things that Shannon has put together for home educators, but also for home education as a whole. And as she's kind of progressed in this creative space of course creation, she's also made this class called Navigating Life Skills for Success, initially for the US market, but now she has repurposed this for UK teens. Shannon, what led you to the creation of this class?
Well, primarily it was my own preteens and teens that led me to this, and recognizing the need for them to learn just some basics of things like, it's the things that happen naturally that need some guidance. So things like, how do you answer the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? Type. And I know some of us are still trying to answer that question, and that's totally okay. But I came across I went to like a weekend seminar thing many years ago that um, had us reflecting on this idea of what do you want to do, who do you want to be, and what do you want to have under the umbrella of what does God have for you in those, and turning those, especially when you get to the what do you want to have, that can get a little um, prosperity oriented, and it wasn't like that at all. It was really, what is your passion so that you can bless others, and using that. And so as an adult, a middle-aged adult, I went through that, and it was really good. And then I turned it around and realized that that was what I wanted to use as kind of the framework model for this Navigating Life Skills for Success course. To what do you want to do? What, as a teen, do you want to, who do you want to be? Because that's about character. What do you want to do? That's about profession, or about um, a cause, or activism, that type of thing. And are there causes you want to support? What do you want to do? Who do you want to be? And what do you want to have? And those are important, because if it is something where you want to have a well-paying job so that your wife or spouse can stay at home and home educate, then that is noble, because you want to support missions, because you have ailing parents that are going to need your support. The different things that undergird our haves become really important down the road, many years from now, for our teens, right?
Mhm.
And so when we're looking at the beginning of that, we're navigating kind of this beginning of a pilgrimage that is helping them explore those ideas, and helping them set a path, and just sometimes get quite introspective over it, and quite self-accounting, if you will, in what's really going on in their lives right now, and creating a space to answer those questions about profession, career, likes and dislikes, personality types, and that kind of thing. And then moving into other stuff. So it started with just my own kids and their needs, and my desire to help them in a unique way that wasn't necessarily just based on how big of a paycheck can you earn at the end of the month type of idea.
That's amazing. So many of our things that we kind of have ran with have started off with, I need this for my kids.
Right. But
And
I
we
need to
go,
do it differently than the world
yeah,
is doing it, because
yeah.
our goals are different. And so that's where that came from. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, I know certainly for myself growing up in high school, you get told, oh, follow your dreams, you can be anything you want. And it's very wishy-washy. And I
But
don't,
not no concrete steps, right?
no
With
concrete
exploring.
steps, no concrete steps, no actual real wisdom about what life is like as an adult.
Right.
And I remember after, I think I think I had kids. Sure, I had kids. They were very little at the time. But my pastor's wife threw out this nugget, and I'm thinking, why that nugget should be shared more widely. That they, as a family, would always tell their own children to, when they were thinking about careers, to really think about the point in life where they're going to be parents, when they're going to be married, and to look to build a life right at the beginning of marriage that was built on, if you want to stay at home with your kids, you need to create your life so that you can afford to stay at home with your kids.
Absolutely.
And so it was this
Absolutely.
instilling from when they were teens that so this is the kind of jobs, these are the kind of the wages that they get, but this is how much a mortgage is, this is how much all these different parts of life cost, and perhaps you might get this job that has this amazing salary, and you could afford this massive big house, but perhaps you don't buy the massive big house, perhaps you buy the smaller house and you have the surplus income which allows you to maybe work less or be at home with your kids or to
Travel.
invest into the kingdom or travel. And so it's, but so many kids, they jump into the world of work and then they instantly maximize their entire wage packet on their mortgage or their rent or taking a loan for the best car that they can possibly afford and have nothing left over. So this, what you've developed is a class that makes them to pause, think before they're in that kind of rabbit wheel or hamster
Yeah.
wheel even of life and they can't get off.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's, yeah, that's amazing. Now, you did this class in our co-op last year.
I did 6 weeks of it.
6 weeks, yeah. You did a
Yeah, I
mini,
did 6 lessons of it, not the full class.
yeah. You did a wee mini Sam tester one, and one of my boys, he was in the class. Honestly, initially he was like, "Oh, it's gonna be boring." He
Everybody
absolutely,
thinks that.
he absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
He became so engaged in the process. He came back and he's like, I'm going to do these things. When I've got money, I'm going to do these things, these ideas of budget. He came back from the budgeting week. I think you got a speaker from Christians Against Poverty to come in and talk to the kids about budgeting. He came back, he's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to, everything this man told them to implement. He's like, this is ideas I didn't have as a teen. He then was
Yeah.
was given these. His favorite week was the travel week.
Yeah, you know what I do? So two things there. One, I want to comment first before the travel week on the course for our teens really gives them hope for the future because it opens it up to them in such a way that they see that they have purpose and they see that they have intrinsic value for the kingdom as well as a path, even if it's just basic stepping stone pieces that they can come back to later and explore more, flesh out more. It gives them that hope that, you know what, this there is a purpose for me here. God has a reason, and I have a job to do. And with God's help, this is an optional path to look at and that kind of thing. So in the ways we do that, now trying to segue from God's purpose to travel, that's a little bit hard sometimes, but I'll figure out a way, right? so one of the segments that we do two different, fairly large, multiple week assignments on budgeting. And one is actually, I think over the course of the whole year, we do three. We do a startup budget, like um, what are the things you need to move out at that point that you're ready to move out? What is it going to take to do that? Because you and I know you need to have first and last month's rent and a bunch of other things. And so it's helping them step through what is the reality of cost today? Not when my parents did it, not on some old website that was published the itemized list in 5 years ago even, but something that's relevant to them today. And we match that up against a fictitious yet relevant job that they fictitiously have been hired for or want to pursue.
And a
So it
fictitious
gives them
job,
reality.
and a
Go on.
fictitious job that would be relevant for them. You're not
Yeah,
saying
absolutely.
you're
So
not
it's
saying,
something
oh,
that
let's
they're
go and do,
interested in.
yeah. I
Yeah.
could pick like a corporate lawyer if really you're not going to ever be a corporate
Yeah, if really you're going to be, I'm trying to think of something different than a corporate lawyer all of a
lawyer.
sudden.
Joiner.
Can't. There you go, a joiner or an arborist or, some different type of vocation that has very high employability,
Hmm.
but a completely different path.
Yeah.
And so that's part of that pilgrimage. When we begin, we're looking at who we are and the talents and giftings we've been given, and how do we hold ourselves accountable to good habits to foster those intrinsic skills and values and character qualities that we want to improve on. Moving that in then into from self-discipline into things like budgeting, because we all know budgeting takes self-discipline, right? So we start with little things like, if someone decides that their self-discipline skill is they're going to drink 8 glasses of water a day for this month, then that's a great place to start, and it will forge a path that then you can lay budgeting in on later in life, right? So we do budgeting, we do that first move out style budget, and then we look at a monthly budget once they have a job, because those kind of budgets do look absolutely totally different. A month to month budget for living versus a savings budget for leaving home. And then that third one that you were mentioning, I gave the kids the choice in when I taught the short segment. That's hard to say. To present either the move out budget or the travel budget, because I wanted them to learn as well that these are, you see people go on these amazing trips, and then maybe you get jealous, right? And you want to do that, and you don't, you kind of get a little grumpy sometimes, right? And so teaching them that it is doable. So let's figure out how to do it, right? And helping them pick a location and decide who's going with them and do everything from plane tickets and passports to meals and lodging and activities. And some people did trips that cost thousands, and it was
My
okay.
son did that.
But you know what? It was okay because it got them dreaming and then realizing the reality. I didn't put you have to plan a trip for, 25 pounds a day per person, and that's it, because that might not involve a lot of fun for a teenager, but to let them dream in that and then realize, okay, how are you going to pay for that is the final question in that assignment. It's like, how long do you think you have to save in order to fulfill that dream trip? And some people went completely the opposite. They built really economical trips, stayed with family or friends, and spent maybe a couple £1,000, but they were there for 2 weeks and they did all the great activities. So everyone could see different ideas in the presentations that they did, which we would do in the online class as well. They would be able to go ahead and just present and then see the other presentations and get a feel for, oh, I never thought about just staying with my friends,
Yeah.
or something like that, or different things. So it really, it did inspire kids on both ends, because that class was a broad range. We had some quite young S1 students, or just coming into S1 even, and then some that were well headed toward their second summer job this summer or something like that. So
Mhm.
so yeah, that's the budgeting module. So that's like the second or third module in the course. Do you want me to tell more about the other course, or do you have another question?
Just to say, I think that's why this makes it a really engaging class because it
Mhm.
is so personalized to the teen, to their
Yeah.
desires, to their hopes, to their dreams, to their personalities, and they get to really explore that. And teenagers may quite like for it all to be about them in
Yeah, and there's a
the
whole
best
lot of
possible
laughing.
way.
There's a whole lot of laughing in the career path component, because we're using some automated tools and some online tools that are specific to the UK to allow us to understand our personalities better and then look at careers and that kind of things. And they'll get crazy things where it's really built on the soft skills and built on the things that they really are passionate about, but they would never think that they would do that,
Yeah.
or that, I think in the short class that we did, I think all the guys got spy. or or private investigator or
Yeah.
something like that. It was like, all right, well, that makes sense because those boys in that class were also very critical thinking minded already. That was the nature of the kids in that class. And I will say, every time I teach this class, the it's totally different because of the kids in it. And most tutors would say that. But what brings out in the kids and in the relationships and the friendships that they build within is also equally valuable because they can see different personalities and that how they would approach
Mhm.
job situations and that kind of thing. And we go through in the second semester, and it's kind of completely different because now that we've figured out who we are, what we want to do, and who we want to be, and all those things, then we move toward building CVs, personal statements, or cover letters, as they might be called, that would go with a CV. And actually, I take them through mock interviews and job application process. So we go through online application process, and it's not out in the big, they're not applying for real jobs. I have them pick a job that is a real job, and then we do an internal application that only I see, and they submit. So they get the practice of the technology as well, of submitting and dealing online with their information. And I know of at least two that from the CVs that they've created in the class, their focus was to create that for a summer job. Not only did they get the summer job, they've gone on with that same CV to get subsequent jobs. And I just got a notification from a former student who's graduated. She's an adult now, who has started her own business based
Oh,
on and got all her certification and everything done based on the career path she followed through our class. And
wow.
so I was like, yay, she's done, she's graduated, she's off doing her own thing, and she's really excited about it. So it really is that beginning of that pilgrimage for kids to help them figure that out. And it's rewarding for them, but it's also really rewarding for us to be able to see them find their success, and that we got to be a part of that.
And when you get to that stage of teenagers and they're having to fill out applications or fill out a UCAS form, write a personal statement, or their first job application, and job applications that might not be for a Saturday job, job applications that could be for more, I don't like the word say important, but like bigger, like
Right. Yeah.
like the job they're going to do, full-time employment. There's that realization this is actually real. This is real life. This isn't,
Yeah.
and most teens don't have those skills. And the difference that a good, stellar personal statement or CV versus one that's not so great is an interview in a job. It's
Yeah.
getting your foot in the door. And with my own, this is a slight deviation from what we're talking about here, but my own son, we're in that stage right now. This is a place we're at. We're in application. He's applying for apprenticeships. He's application after application, sending it off. And we actually used Shannon's Everything Counts planner to
Right.
gather all his information of the things he's done. And I took this information out here and I helped him with taking that information and crafting it into a CV. And one of the jobs he got an interview for was for an electrician apprenticeship, and it was highly, highly competitive. They had over 200 applications and they only called 5 kids for an interview, and he
Wow.
was one of the 5. And it was
That's amazing.
because we used the tools that Shannon had built out to then craft this application. It was seeing that you need these tools to help our kids to be successful in
Yeah.
these skills, because it is a very competitive job market. It's a
Yeah.
competitive college
Absolutely.
and university market, and so our kids need to be equipped. They can have all the qualifications, they can have the best skills, they can be a wonderful personality and a perfect fit for that job. If they can't get that interview,
Yeah.
that's they're not going to be
Yeah,
found.
that's the challenge. So they have to look good first on paper and then be able to present well in an interview. And that's why we do what we do
Hmm.
within that second semester of the class. The other thing I do when it comes to this job application piece and the mock applications that we do. So if let's just take the idea, it's a similar idea for a student I had previously where and interestingly, this student, a bit of a tangent here, this student first started out, he wanted to be a pharmacist. His grandfather was a pharmacist. It's kind of in the family blood and that kind of thing. And he wanted to be a pharmacist. And that's how he started the class. He made a complete 180 somewhere in the year. I think it was over Christmas break, and came back and decided he didn't want to be a pharmacist. He really thought he wanted, after some contemplation and discussion, to be an electrician.
Oh.
And so we together, we retooled things because we're midway through things so that he could focus on what did it mean to be an electrician financially, qualification wise, and these different things. And then it was like we got to this resume bit, and he's like, I don't know what to do for a CV because he's not certified. How does he show his interest for an entry level job? And so it's like, you know what? Let's look at jobs that would be at like B&Q or B&M in the specific department, in the electrical department or in the plumbing department or whichever, because those are great entry level jobs that you could actually possibly get a summer job at or a seasonal job at and that kind of thing. And so that's what we did for him. And that was a piece of a stepping stone where he could practice, build a resume and a CV for an entry level position that then he could come later and revise to include the qualifications a few years down the road where he gets that. But he's already got his eye on what can I do now to prove that I am really dedicated to this field
Hmm.
and passionate about it. And so that's how we went forward with him. And there was a quickness about it with that 180 because we had begun already building toward pharmacy and researching, pharmacy school and all the pieces that go with that. And it was like
That is a big
in the other
180.
direction. But he went on and we went through and was like, we were looking at, he's like, I don't feel like I have any skills, but he lives on a ranch. And I was like, well, what do you do around the ranch? What do you do? What do you call chores? And he told me his chores, and I'm like, okay. So you essentially like maintenance assistants, they're building fences every summer or rebuilding fences. They're tending to certainly to the livestock and that kind of thing. But all the other bits that happen on a ranch that
Hmm.
I can't even explain, I won't even try. But those they've really fit in doing just like you did with the everything counts piece was taking him through the steps of what do you do in your everyday life or what are your parents asking you to assist in
Hmm.
whether you're being paid for it or not because those are skills you're learning skills and those skills be they soft skills or hard skills are excellent and it's just those first CVs are where we help them gather that information and turn it into something um, that has like an actual jobby type of title, right? So
Yeah.
instead of, my chores were mending fences every summer, it was like you were assistant maintenance assistants
Mhm.
for, ranch carpentry or whatever I forget what we called it,
Yeah.
but something that would sound far more posh than just I built fences. So
We did a similar thing with that because my boys assisted um his dad, my husband, in his line of work, and they're using real power tools,
yeah,
like dangerous power tools. And
yeah,
so he's had to learn to be really aware of the surroundings, about who's there, how to work them,
yeah,
how to keep them himself safe, how to keep the machine working well. And so these skills that are, they might not be the job that he was going for, but they're actually very, very valid skills. And I think as parents, when we're looking at our teens and just our day-to-day life, giving our kids those opportunities to take real life responsibility in
Yeah.
quite adult settings equips them for that workplace
Yeah.
and gives them these skills that are really transferable. That whole idea of being really aware of your surroundings, the safety of your surroundings in a workplace setting.
Yeah.
We can do that in our home with our everyday life, like the maintenance of our houses, of our gardens, of all these different ideas.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
all
Absolutely.
transferable.
Yeah. And that's why, that's what we keep coming back to, the idea of everything counts. And that's why I called it that, was because when you step back and look, it's not just what happens during whatever people define as school hours that goes on, a transcript or a CV or a personal statement or anything like that. It's really, we have to look at it differently and redefine it for our children so that it fits into the other pieces, um, into a way that the work world understands it, and that's us being the interpreter and helping them fashion these things. And it's a delight to work with them
Mhm.
and to watch the wheels turn and see where the struggles are, and then help them find an answer and point them in a direction of, consider this or consider that, and having it be somebody that's not their parent but
Yeah.
is thinking along the same lines as their parent. And it's not, I will say that it's still a class that partners with the families, because I do have the kids go back, especially like the budgeting is a good example. I have them go back and ask their parents, okay, what would I be paying for car insurance if I was on your policy, if I had to get my own, so that they can work together, because every family is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
And some families may choose that, you're not going to be on a bike policy, you better buy a bus pass or whatever, that type of thing. So, so that's the life skills class. We call it navigating life because it's skills for success, and it's just, we take them from, that heady bit of just the beginning of the, what do you want to do, who do you want to be, what do you want to have, all the way through to seeing how that's really possible and giving them that hope, and giving those tools to the student, then that they can work with their parents, carrying it forward beyond the class and into the next phase of young adulthood.
It also gives kids a much more realistic idea of the world that they're living
Yeah.
in. Because so
Yeah.
often our kids, we can think that they have an awareness, but they actually don't, because they're not paying the bills, they're not buying the food, they're not paying
Yeah.
the internet, the phone, or whatever in those teen years, and they think they'll be wanting this, they want to go here, they want that money, they want, can I have another Kenny, can I have a and they don't have those
Yeah.
aware, they're not being wasteful, they're not being greedy, they just don't realize
Yeah.
the expense of things. So this class also gives them that awareness of, actually, this is what life is like, and why we tell
Well,
you, no, you can't have
one of
that,
the
it's
other things we
expensive.
do is we talk about, I'd forgotten about this, but we talk about comparison shopping. So one of the assignments is they actually choose something, like, say, one of the easiest ones to do is like a new mobile. And they need to buy a new mobile, and they have to research. Usually it's at least three, but sometimes I tell them five, 3 to 5 different comparable things, and they have to look at the features, if it's a mobile, looking at the battery life and the plan, because it's a recurring payment thing. And so that's where helping them understand kind of the, you get what you pay for. So if you go with a really cheap one, that might not be the one you really want to do, but is the best of the best, top of the crop, going to be really worth it? Are
You
all
need
those
it.
features necessary,
Yeah.
or is it a waste of your money? And helping them learn how to do that comparison. And then whether they're doing it with a mobile phone or they're going to do, oh, I can't think, car insurance is another good one to look at for that, and that kind of thing. So something that's a recurring payment, even electrics and those kind of utility bills right now are a great thing as well, to be a resource for teaching that type of skill as well. So
One of the things I've heard, we always hear parents say, "Oh, I wish," they say in public school, they say as well that they wished kids could have a class in budgeting and planning, all exactly what you have just described.
Yeah.
Parents want this for their kids, and here it is. It's
And here it
always,
is.
it's like a class in adulting.
Yeah.
Maybe we should.
It is a little bit, but it's not it's not too far. It's ideal for the student that is 14, 15 and up.
Mhm.
I've had like one of the students I've said, I've had 17, 18-year-olds in there the last couple of years of high school, US style high school, because it absolutely prepared them for the next immediate step.
Yeah.
And that's really what it's geared toward, is helping them prepare for the next immediate step. But the younger students that are able to think that way and are moved more into that critical thinking area and are ready, if they know they have a focus on a job or a career path, then it's great for them to be able to help figure that out. Whether it's going to university and building skills, job skills and life skills toward that degree that are going to look good on paper for an application, or if it's for vocation. Either way, yeah, you can build. We explore both avenues, and that's the independent part of it, really tailored to each student. And then they come back and they present their information to all of us just to help us see, and we work through things together.
Brilliant. So if you're interested, if you've got any questions, just email us at arisehomeeducation.com. The classes live enrollment is open. If any of our classes you want to enroll now, to secure a seat is a £50 deposit, and there's payment plans in place. You can pay it all in one go if you wish, but if you want to spread the cost, you can spread it out for as many months as you like, up to a maximum of 10 months. Obviously, that's going to reduce as we get closer to into August, September. But right now, you can spread that course over 10 months, so that really makes it a much more
Yeah,
affordable option.
super.
So yeah, check it out, have a look, and as with all our classes, these are small class sizes. The numbers will be capped at 10 kids per class. So have a look at that, and thank you for listening. Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.